or do not disturb, right?
Good morning, DPF land. Thank you for joining us. This is season 2, episode 26. Today we're calling this better West Coast trip than we expected with a special guest star. And we're super excited today to have John Kruk on. Everybody that is on this podcast right now and in our DPF land is a huge fan of yours, John, both back from your playing days and all your broadcasting and everything that you've been doing with the Phillies lately. And so welcome to DPF On Tap.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're going to pay a couple of bills real quick. DPF On Tap is brought to you by Pensive Technology. Make sure you check out Pensive Technology for all your networking, internet, and home automation needs at pensivetechnology.com today. Thanks a lot for your sponsorship, Pensive. So, John, we thought we'd get going with our DPF founder, Chris, and I'll kick it over to him for the first couple questions.
Cool. So, John, thanks for coming on. It's no secret that you're a wrestling fan, and I'm a huge wrestling fan. So I kind of wanted to start off strong and talk a little bit about wrestling. What was your, how did you get into it? Was it since you were a kid? And have you been able to go to any matches live, any of the big pay-per-view events throughout the years?
Yeah, I started watching wrestling with my aunt when I was probably 6-7 years old, maybe. Mm-hmm. And she would watch it every Saturday morning. And I remember going over to her house and just watching wrestling with her. And that kind of started me into that, this is pretty cool stuff. And thank God I never tried to become one. But it's grown and evolved from there. And I look forward to every Monday and Friday, really, to watch SmackDown and Raw.
Who would be on your wrestling Mount Rushmore? Who's your 4 guys throughout the years?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm Polish, so Ivan Putski would be on there. I'm a big fan of Randy Orton. Randy would be on there. I like the talkers. So Stone Cold would definitely be on there, and The Rock. I mean, those are two of the best talkers ever. And the things that they say, and it's funny as hell. I mean, I still go back on Peacock has you can go back and watch all these old clips, wrestling clips of back when Stone Cold and Undertaker and all them were wrestling, and The Rock, and I just go back and try to fast forward to hear them talk. I don't care about the wrestling. I just want to hear those two talk.
Yeah, the Attitude Era was probably my favorite too, and The Rock and Stone Cold. But just on the mic, it was, to be a wrestler, I think you have to have skills in the ring. You have to have a look, but I think being able to talk is one of the most important things. So I love the Stone Cold and The Rock.
Yeah, without question, those guys. If you could talk, you got a shot at wrestling. Yep. And now, L.A. Knight has become almost I don't want to say a poor man Stone Cold, but he's similar to Stone Cold without flipping people off.
Yeah, and that catchphrase of his, it's I think that's so important. Hell yeah, 316. SmackDown, jabroni, all of the things that The Rock said. So that's awesome. Yeah, I love that you love wrestling, because I get in trouble for watching a little bit, but I don't know. I think you need some mindless stuff, and I enjoy it. It's like a man's soap opera.
Yeah, it's it's like anything. It's like watching Days of Our Lives for men.
That's it.
There you go. Hey, Kruk, I heard a rumor that you might have liked beer back in the day, and we are sponsored by Yards, so I don't know if you've ever had Philly Standard, but we really like to drink Philly Standard, especially when we're out at CBP, doing tailgates and doing this On Tap podcast. So cheers, my friend.
Hey, cheers to you guys. I got
awesome. Hey,
I got an energy drink I can take a drink of.
Oh, there you go. Just a couple of quick comments we like to kick off the show with here. Right at 11, good old friend Max said, "Fuck the Mets and hi Kruk." Also at 11, Jared, "Fuck the Mets." Also at 11, Nancy, who is, I'm surprised she got beat by the other two. She's usually first. "Good morning and fuck the Mets." Also at 11, "Fuck the Mets, love you, Kruk," from Tracy. We got more at 11:01, but we'll keep going.
Yeah, I don't think. Apparently, not a lot of Mets fans, huh?
No. Every once in a while they come on, but they don't usually come back. Let's put it that way. Dugan, you want to chime in?
Yeah. Hey, John. Good morning. Thanks for getting on with us. I just got a quick question. I think the biggest thing why all of us and Philadelphia in general really love you and as a ball player and as an announcer is just because you're kind of like the everyman. You come across that way. You don't come across as a big timer. You come across as an everyman. And I heard a story that when you played in San Diego, you used to play softball with the ground crew after games. I was wondering if that is actually true and if you did anything similar to that with when you were in your time in Philadelphia.
I did not do that in Philadelphia, no. And I apparently I had more to do in Philadelphia than I did in San Diego. Yeah, we after some day games, I noticed, because I would stay after games and have a couple beers. Of course, that's before they took it out of the clubhouse. They were going to save the world one beer at a time. They kind of took that away from us. So I'm like, all right, now what am I going to do to kill my time? Because at that time, I was the only single guy on the team. So, everyone else would go home to their wives and kids and whatever. And, here I am left alone. Like, okay, what do I do now? And I noticed one day driving home, I noticed there's not far from the ballpark, they were playing softball out in the field. So I thought, well, what the hell, I'll stop in and see. And I recognized some people on the grounds crew. And so I said, you know what the hell? Put me in, coach, man. So after day games, if we weren't traveling, I would, if we had another home game the next day or an off day, preferably, I would go play softball with them because I was bored.
That's great. I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Great.
Johnny, you're up.
Hey, John, I'm incredibly honored and privileged to have you on today. Just wanted to ask you a quick question. Philly fans sometimes get a bad rap. What is it about us that makes us different from other fan bases across the league?
Passion. And I know there's passion in other places, and I know, but it's hard to explain. I know, like my first day in Philly, David Montgomery pulled me aside. Now, I had no idea who David Montgomery was. And, he said, listen, he said, I'm just going to tell you this and be upfront. He said, you can't bullshit these people. I said, well, I wasn't planning on it. I mean, that's probably what got me traded out of Philadelphia. Was I might have been a little too honest, or out of San Diego. I mean, might have been a little too honest with the folks out there. So that's the way I went about it. And here's the thing. I'll tell you this. And Larry Anderson and I were talking about this the last homestand. Like he's 70, 71, 72 maybe. And I'm 63, and we keep telling each other we haven't had a job since we were 18, 19 years old. and the way I've always approached it, like there was days where like you had to actually pinch yourself, like, holy crap, like I'm teammates with Tony Gwynn. I'm teammates with Goose Gossage. I'm teammates with Gary Templeton, Steve Garvey. Like, are you kidding me? Then I get to Philly, and Schmitty had just retired, but he was around. He would come around, and one of my first days in Philadelphia also I get a call in the clubhouse. Now, we didn't have cell phones, so they had to call the clubhouse, and the clubhouse kid would come and get you and say, "Hey, you got a phone call?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Who knows I'm here?" But what the hell? And I go over and pick up I asked him, I said, "Who is it?" He said, "Schmitty." And I'm like, "Who? Schmitty?" Like, I put two and two together. And so I go to the phone. I'm like, "Hello." And he goes, "John, this is Mike Schmidt." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Holy crap. And he said, "I want you to come over to the house for lunch. I want to talk to you about playing in Philly." So I went over to his house the next day for lunch, and we sat out and had, his wife had a nice meal for us, and we just talked about what it was like playing in Philly. And he said something to me that has stuck with me to this day, and that was, now this is Mike Schmidt, the greatest player that's ever played in Philadelphia, and the greatest third baseman that's ever played baseball, I think, in my opinion. He told me, he said, "Listen," he said, "I wish I could have been more like you." And I'm like, "What the hell?" Like I thought, man, he must start drinking early. But he said, "You enjoy the game, you enjoy playing the game," and he said, "You don't really give a shit what people say." And
Right.
I said, "Yeah, I don't. Why would that bother me? As people are going to have their opinion one way or another. Like, they're either going to like you or they're not. So, I mean, I can't force people to like me. If they like me, they like me. But I'm not going to change, just because, it's the correct thing to do. Sometimes I say things I shouldn't. My language isn't great." And that's what he said. He said, "That's why I wish I could have been more like you." He said, "I don't think I stopped to enjoy it like you do." And I thought, "Well, golly, man, this is like deep." But then that convinced me that I must be doing something right, as far as not really giving a shit what I say or what people think of me. And it's kind of worked out.
I know we've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I kind of want to like just continue with that line of thought then, John. One of the best all-time pranks I've ever heard of is the one that you and Boa and whoever else was involved pulled on Utley when he hit that grand slam for his first, his first big league hit. Like, so can you just walk us through how that idea generated, and how did you keep a straight face while you were doing that, and how did Utley take it and that kind of stuff?
Well, I thought it'd be fun. And so that day I talked to Larry Boa, and I told him what we were going to do. And so I said, we need to get Ed Wade involved too. And Eddie came down, and like, they were great. Like, they were like, well, it doesn't take much to generally piss off Boa, but it takes a lot more to piss off Eddie. So, they act like they were pissed at baseball, Major League Baseball, and pissed at the whatever, So, we came up with this thing, and I had like a folder, I think, with me, like, which I never carry a folder. Like, what the hell am I writing? And so we went with this, and we never rehearsed it. It just happened. And so one of the coaches went and got Chase, brought Chase into Larry Boa's office, told him I was on the rules committee, which, dear God, like, that'd be the last place I'll ever show up. Yeah, so we went with this thing about, they didn't get the paperwork in time when he got called up. And so he wasn't technically an active player on the Phillies roster. And, the home run doesn't count. The Phillies have to forfeit the game. The big thing. And Chase had at first he had like a surprised look on his face. Like, "Are you kidding me? Like, holy crap. I think he thought he did something wrong." And then Eddie started screaming, "That god dang, whatever. Bo was like, "This is bullshit. This is bull." And then, of course, when when I finally revealed to Chase, I couldn't hardly keep it in anymore. And so when I finally revealed to Chase, like, Chase, do you honestly think Major League Baseball would make me a part of the rules committee? Like, and Chase was pissed. I mean, pissed. And we got a good laugh out of, but he walked out, and I said, yeah, we're just joking with you, right? And he goes, this is effing bullshit. This is I walked back in. I told Bo and Eddie, I said, you guys got a special one there, because a lot of kids would crumble under the pressure of something like this happening to them. He was more pissed at us than he was with the thought of he might not have had that grand slam. I said, he's good, man. He ain't gonna put up with a lot of shit from people, and he hasn't. He was, one of the all-time greats for the Phillies.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, Chris, do you want to go to a couple of comments? There's a lot of love in the comments for John today.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let's see. So this is awesome. Thank you, DPF and Krucker. So Lynn, thanks for tuning in there. We got Morning sending some winning vibes after that 11-1 drubbing. We need the good vibes. That was a rough one. Rebecca, hi, Krucker. So good morning, fellas. Good morning, Crucky. Fuck the Mets and fuck Joe Carter.
We'll get to Joe Carter in a minute.
We'll get to that one. So our Dugan's wife is on. So DPF wives love Kruk. So thanks for that, Christy. And then I guess we'll go into next question. So John, you talked on the broadcast before about playing in the Mexican League in '86, and you played against the prison team.
Yeah.
And you found out that the pitcher, did something horrendous.
Yep.
Were you worried about getting a hit or digging in? And how did that compare to like your Randy Johnson at bat? Were you more fearful of the prisoner who had, I think, burned a car, or was it Randy Johnson?
Yeah, he killed 2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more scary. Randy, as far as I know, Randy's never killed anyone. Bird.
A seagull, yeah.
He killed a bird. But, yeah, I mean that was it. I first of all, I thought they were joking with me when we got on the bus at our ballpark, and I said, "Where are we going?" I said, "How far's the ballpark away from our ballpark where we're playing?" And we had a guy, Juan Navarrete, and Houston Jimenez. They both played in the States, so they both were bilingual. And they were kind of like my translators with everyone. And so I asked them, I said, how far? And they said, oh, the prison's only like a couple miles away. I'm like, what the hell you doing? What? They said, yeah, the prison. Then I thought they were joking. And I thought, like, come on, man, we're going to a prison and playing. Like, who does that? And, next thing we know, pull up and there's a big block wall and that razor wire up above it. And I'm like, holy shit, man. We are playing in a prison. And the dude catching, like I hit first. That they let me hit first for some reason that day. And I remember going up to home plate and the dang catcher didn't have gear on. And and he was a Mexican American guy. Got in trouble. I don't know what he did. I never asked. Once he told me about the pitcher, I wasn't concerned with the catcher. And I said, "You not going to put on any gear?" He said, "No, we don't have any." And I'm like, "Holy crap!" So our catcher, I said, "Man, I'm not going to hit without catcher without any gear." I don't even know if we had umpires. I don't even think umpires wanted to go there. So our catcher had our backup catcher. We used the backup catcher's gear for that guy, and I noticed that the guy spoke really good English, the catcher. So I was not digging in. I was just kind of getting ready to get ready to hit. And I asked him. I said, "What's this?" And this is a left-handed pitcher, threw hard. And I said, what's this guy? Yeah, he was probably going to get drafted. And I said, well, what did he do? He said, his girlfriend was cheating, so he set their car on fire, what they were in. And I'm like, excuse me? He said, yeah, he's here for life. I'm like, oh God. I said, I hope I'm not in here for the rest of my life getting killed here.
Oh, that's great.
And I think one of I think I only had like 2 at bats, thank God. But the second one, I hit a line drive to right field, and it was the first 3 unassisted because the right field fence was only about 250 feet away, but it was like 30 feet high. And I hit a bullet off that thing, and it like caromed right back to the first baseman. So I started to make my turn like I got a double, and it caromed right back to the first baseman for an out. I'm like, line drive off the wall. Yeah, the worst, and then the worst part was we had to go in there and eat with them.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, I'm walking in there. I got my Padres bag, my Padres equipment bag, and they were trying to like grab my hat. They tried to rip the bag off of me. I'm like, I told our manager. Finally got back on the bus. I told the manager, Cananea Reyes. Cananea was he was a coach, and I think he managed briefly for the Seattle Mariners. And I looked at him and I said, hey, Cananea. I said, what? I said, last time I show up to this damn place. And he's like, yeah, hopefully.
Understandably.
That was the last time we ever had to go. I ever had to go there. I don't know if the rest of them went, but I didn't show up for that part of it.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
It put you in danger. That's crazy. Dugan, you're up.
Yeah. Hey, John. I think the way you retired might be one of the coolest things I ever saw. You knew you needed one more hit to finish at 300. You got that hit, and you walked off the field. I wish we could play like My Way behind you in the background, because that's certainly the way you did it. How long were you planning that? Who was in on it? Who knew? Who was surprised that you just walked off and that was your swan song there? If you just give us a little background on that.
Yeah. So I told Jim Abbott. Jim Abbott at that time was our best pitcher, and they kept talking about trading him. So every time we get on a bus on a trip, I'm like, did you get traded yet? Did you hear anything? And he goes, why do you keep asking me this? And I said, I think when they trade you, that kind of tells you that they don't think we can win.
Yeah.
Right. So I said, if they trade you, I'm retiring. And he said, really? I say, yep. Yeah, I'm done. I just a lot of things going on with, I had cancer the previous year, and we went on strike and missed the World Series in '94, and it just my desire to play just left me after all that. But I thought I'd give it one more run, and Ozzie Guillen was there, so I came up in the minor leagues with Ozzie, and I thought it'd be fun, to start my professional career with Ozzie, and then I finished because San Diego didn't want me. I'd love to have gone back to San Diego because Phillies didn't want me. But that was a pipe dream after, let's just say the way I left. So we fly to Boston, and we get to the hotel. I get a call in the hotel. It's Jim Abbott. He said, hey, man, I just want to tell you I just got traded. And I'm like, okay, I'll be up in a minute. So I go up in a room, and I think it was Ozzie. Ozzie was up there, Kurt McCaskill, Scott Radinsky. I think Alex Fernandez was there too. And of course, Jim. And so, we're drinking beer and talking about Abby and how we're going to miss him and all that stuff and joking around. And so he looked at me and he goes, so are you going to retire now? And I'm like, oh crap, I forgot. Yeah. I said, yeah, I'm done, man. I'm done. And so I think it was Kirk McCaskill that he came up. He goes, we got to come up with, and Robin Ventura. They said we got to come up with some fun way for you to retire. I said, yeah, whatever you guys come up with, I'm in. And so they said, how about your next at bat or your next hit? Just walk off the field and go home. I said, yeah, I can do that. I was struggling too. I said, I can't promise when I'm going to get that damn hit though. They said, it don't matter when you get the next one. So I'm like, all right. So I go in the next day and I have to tell the manager and the general manager this plan. And so it was only, Frank Thomas knew eventually because Frank was going to run for me if I ever got on. But the only guys that knew were Frank, the guys in the room, the manager, and the general manager. None of the other players knew. None of the coaches knew. And this is when, when people say, oh, you need a one hit to get. I had no idea because if I had known that, I'd have quit in Boston. I went 0 for Boston, 3 games. I think I was 0 for 10 or something like that at Fenway. And then we go to Baltimore, and there's a Friday night, and I remember I met my mom and dad. They came down to Baltimore, some buddies of mine, and I remember telling them, listen, if I get a hit tonight, Friday night, if I get a hit, I'm walking off the field. I'm not hurt. I'm just retiring. Well, people wonder where I get my saltiness from. My dad looked at me and he said, well, get that motherfucker tonight because it's be 100 fucking degrees this weekend. And I goddamn fucking hit. All right. Okay. So Friday I didn't get a hit. It was going so bad. Saturday they didn't even play me. And I pinch hit and struck out. And so I see Doug Jones, who pitched for us in '94 in Philly. He was the Orioles closer that in '95. And so I asked him who's pitching Sunday, and he said, Scott Erickson. I said, good guy? He goes, oh, yeah, he's a great guy. I said, can you please tell him to throw me a cookie first at bat so I can get a hit and get the hell out of here? He goes, what the hell are you talking about? He goes, Jonesy was very religious, so I didn't curse around Jonesy. But he said, well, I did. I just felt bad. And so he said, I tell you what, he said, your first at bat when you're walking up, look in the dugout. And if I'm tipping my hat, that means it's on. I said, oh, thank God. Man, I'm going up there to hit, and I don't see Jonesy nowhere. And he says, God, I'm on my own again. And on my own, hadn't been working lately. And anyway, so I'm almost getting to the batter's box, and I finally see Jonesy running down the tunnel, tipping his hat. I'm like, oh God. So I got the shit jammed out. I mean, hit a little blooper over the shortstop, over Cal Ripken's head. And, I get to first base, and Frank's getting ready to run. And the first base coach was Ron Jackson. And Ron like, what the hell's going on? And I said, I'm done, Papa Jack. I said, I've had enough. I can't play no more. Just my body with everything that's gone on the last few years. I said, I just can't do it anymore. And I think Rafael Palmeiro was like, man, you're hitting like 3 whatever. How can you retire when you're hitting over 300? I said, it's easy. I said, this is the easy part. I said, the hard part's getting to second, getting to third, and getting home. And he said, and Frank's like doing the Texas two-step, waiting, like, are you coming off the field so I can go run for you? He's up on the top step. And then while I'm talking to Rafi, someone got a base hit, and I had to run to second. And I figured, well, hell, I'm here. I might as well talk to Cal and wish Cal good luck on the streak and all that stuff, And then the next thing you know, someone hit and made an out, and I ran to third, went right up in the dugout or clubhouse, and Ozzy had a bottle of champagne. We toasted. I left a note in his locker. He went back out on the field, and I drove home. I actually got home in about the seventh inning. And I turned on the game, and I'm sitting in my house in West Virginia, and I turned on the game to see how it was going. Didn't go well for the White Sox that day. But I heard our announcer say we still haven't got an update. It looked like he had he was limping, so we're assuming it's a hamstring injury. And so after the game, of course, I gave Ozzy the note to read, thanking the Padres, the Phillies, and the White Sox, and whatever other crap I wrote. But so about 2 weeks later, I get a call from my agent, and he said, "Are you hurt?" I said, "No, I feel pretty good." He said, "Well, I haven't seen you in the box scores." And I said, "Oh crap, I forgot to tell you I retired." He said, "Wait, shouldn't you have run that past me?" And I'm like, "Man, you weren't going to change my mind. I don't want people making decisions for me. I made the decision myself. I didn't need to consult anyone. I knew it was time. So, so that's how that thing turned out."
That's awesome.
Incredible.
Just for context, you hit 308. You were 308 when you retired that season. So you're swinging it back pretty good. Yeah.
Well, up until because it was funny because they called a guy up, this kid up. And whenever I got the hit, they knew I was going to retire. So they needed someone up there because they thought, so they flew him up to Boston, and it was awful. And I felt bad for the kid because he's, as soon as they get a hit, his major league service time starts. And he would come over every day. Do you think today's the day? Nope. I wouldn't bet on it. Sometimes you just know, like you just know when you're struggling, like, man, today just ain't going to be my day. When you can't hit in BP, it's tough to hit in the game. And I was struggling with both of those aspects, but he came every day and said, "Hey, today? Nope. I get your work in, but it won't be today. You put it this way, you won't be on the roster tomorrow." And so finally, when I wanted to get the hit in Baltimore too, because I didn't want to have to fly back to Chicago and have to drive back from Chicago back to West Virginia. Well, this is how stupid I am. My car was in Chicago, so I had to go back there eventually anyway to get all my crap that I had there. Well, yeah. So that was
Great story.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you.
Hey, really quick, John. Patty wants to know when you're back on the air.
Tuesday,
Patty.
No idea who they're playing. Who they playing? Oh, Miami, right?
Yeah. Marlins.
Yeah. Yep. I better get there early. They traded everyone. I have no clue who their players are.
So, also really quick, you are in the same office as Taryn Hatcher, and do you know Natalie Eganoff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on Monday, which is actually tomorrow, we're involved with a Pennsylvania SPCA event that they're hosting, Phillies trivia at Victory Brewing on the Ben Franklin Parkway. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody remembered that, and we'll say hi to Taryn and Natalie for you.
Yeah, please do. I'm playing in a golf outing for the Darren Dalton Foundation tomorrow. So,
oh, that's great.
Yeah, I haven't played golf in a long time either, so it should be interesting. I feel sorry for the people that are playing, are my playing partners, because they might not get much out of me tomorrow. If Tommy Green's playing, he'll win because he cheats.
Oh, interesting. Speaking of former Phillies teams, John, you want to ask that number 3 question?
Yeah. So all of us that were around in '93 in the DPF community, we were all in on that squad. It was one of our favorite squads. Who was your favorite team to play against that year, and who was the team you couldn't stand?
Well, the team that I enjoy playing the Mets just because of that rivalry, and they were still pretty good. They weren't the '86 Mets, but and we purged them of Lenny and Roger McDowell. It was always the Mets like that. Those seemed and those seems to be the games that, like, I don't want to say more meaningful games, but they were pretty intense, more intense than any other team we played. And what was the other question?
And it was what was the team you hated facing the most?
Oh, the Cardinals. Just because of the pressure that they put on you with their speed. They had so many guys who could just fly, and man, you had to play perfect against them. Your defense had to be perfect. You bobble a ball for a second, they're on first. Vince and Willie and Ozzie and all those guys that can, and they would just start running, man. And there was a lot of stress playing against the Cardinals, but luckily they had a catcher that said something that kind of got us really, or we were told this is what he said. He might not. It might have just been someone's way of getting us fired up to play him. But the rumor was that Tom Pagnozzi, when they came to Philly to play us, he said, once we sweep the Phillies, we won't hear from them anymore. Because remember, back then, now the Cardinals were in the American League East, or National League East. So that's who we were fighting, them in the Expos, for first place at that time. And, that kind of got us a little pissed off at them. And, we ended up sweeping them, and we never heard from them again. So that was, we were good at payback.
So staying with that team, we've heard a lot about the training room where you and like Dykstra and Dalton and Mitch and all those guys hung out. But I very recently saw a video that you had made several years ago where you called it the burial room. Can you explain what that meant and why you called it that, and how big of a part of the team's success do you think that was?
Well, we called it that because that's where we would bury guys. Like when Randy Reddy and I were playing in San Diego, we would stay after games, and with Gossage and Nettles and Gary Templeton was there, and stay after, have a couple beers and talk baseball. And so I always thought that was the way to go, because I learned a lot from them, not only about them personally, but about the correct way to play the game of baseball. And so when Randy and I got traded to the Phillies, we were in there the first night, and I remember the trainer. It's like less than an hour after the game, the trainer goes, "How long you guys going to stay here?" Like, shit, we just got started. What do you how long are we going to stay here? And we would drink beer and talk the game. And Darren was always in there because he had the bad knee. And so it was me, Randy, and Darren. And then Lenny started coming in. And then Dave Hollins, when we got Dave, he would come in. And it just started to be one of those things where, like, we would congregate into the trainer's room. And if a guy didn't play particularly well that day, and sometimes in a good way, but most of the time in a good way, we would rip him a little bit, joking, to try to get him to relax and understand that, we're having fun with you because we care and we need you to win. And some of our pitchers didn't want to come in early, but we really didn't have much pitching when I first got there. And some of those guys they would never come in, the pitchers, because they know that we would bury them. And the name. But, then after that, like when we got Danny Jackson, Schill, and Terry Mulholland, Dennis Cook, those guys would start coming in. And pretty soon it went from me, Randy, and Darren to, 3 guys in there to now it's, 10 or 15 guys in there after games, sitting in this small ass training room, drinking beer and talking baseball. And people thought we were just in there like, partying and, not worrying about the games. But man, I'll tell you this, Lenny was maybe one of the smartest baseball players I've ever played with. I've never seen anyone who could break down a pitcher like Lenny. And we talked about the game. And then we moved on after, an hour or so, we would move on to the next day's game and who's pitching. And, Lenny would give us a rundown. Here's how he's going to pitch you guys, just watch my at bat. You're going to see everything he has. And, I'll work along at bat, a lot of pitches. So you guys see everything this pitcher had. And he was like just dead spot on 99.9% of the time. And so that was part of the conversation. And, guys started, sometimes we couldn't wait till after the game to get in there, and because it was a lot. Now, I'm sure a lot of the wives didn't think so because, 2 or 3 hours after the game, we're not home yet. And I can't remember how many of us got divorced not long after that. A bunch. But, yeah, I mean, it's just, that's the way I was brought up. We're here to play baseball. So, part of the playing of the game to me was talking about it and learning about it as you go. And that's what we did. I learned that in San Diego and it became that way in Philly when we got there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for
Very
going
cool.
over
That's
that.
awesome. That's awesome.
There's a lot of love for you in the comments, John, but especially in this little segment there, somebody called Nails the iPad of the time. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And then Timothy Seidel, Crocker's my cancer brother. He gave my family and I one hell of an experience this past Easter Sunday at the bank. I'll forever be grateful for all that we were blessed to do that day. And I think that's like a really big transition that we can do into really the reason why you agreed to be on our dumb little show here, John, is to talk a little bit about Battle Brothers. So we were fortunate enough to find Brian Buckley and Battle Brothers when we had our Salute to Service weekend, with our outing at Citizens Bank Park. We were able to raise a little bit of awareness and some funds for them. And I know that you're on the board of directors now for Battle Brothers Foundation. And so just wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about, Brian, Buckley's mission, why you decided to, kind of step up and help him with that. A little bit maybe about the auction that kicked off yesterday, and a little bit maybe about your John Kruk is my spirit animal t-shirt that 10% of the proceeds are going towards Battle Brothers Foundation and the watch party on the 25th. So whatever you want to do, we'll give you an open forum.
All right. Well, I first of all, my dad was in the Army. I've had numerous uncles, cousins, friends from back in West Virginia that served, and I've always, had that love for our military and first responders. I have so many friends back home that are, firemen and EMTs and police officers and state troopers. So, it's always been near and dear to my heart. And then, once I met with Brian, a few years ago, I was going through some stuff physically, and I couldn't. I basically lost the ability to walk. Some disease took a hold of me, and I was getting like an hour's sleep, and it really started affecting me mentally because it was a chore to get out of bed, and then it was a chore to have to go to the bathroom. Like I had to have a walker to get me there, and so Brian said, "I'm going to send you some stuff. We use this for our veterans, to help them cope with not only the physical pain but the mental pain that goes with the physical pain." And it happened to be some marijuana stuff, and at that time I was like, I swear to you on my life, up until two or 3 years ago, I have never ever once smoked marijuana or took a marijuana gummy or nothing ever. And I was so against it because I had a friend of mine who started growing up, and he started with marijuana, and then he eventually ended up dying from it's just a long story that I don't want to get into with him. But so anyway, Brian sent me some stuff, and I started taking it. It really helped at night take some pain away, so I could actually sleep more than an hour. And so I just got more curious about that, and what else he does. So I started looking at Battle Brothers and how they help our veterans, and not only with coping with the physical pain that they return with, but the mental stress that these soldiers go through, how he's trying to help them. And so I the more I talked to him, the more I thought, well, let's try to help raise some money for him. And I think a couple years ago we did, or might have been last year, we did like Bryce Harper signed a bat, and we auctioned it off, and I thought, this is just not enough. It just doing a one-time thing is just not enough. We have to do more. And so I learned a lot more about Brian and his mission and what Battle Brothers does with helping our soldiers come back and cope with, being back as a civilian, and how difficult that is, and the amount of suicides that go on with our military. And it was staggering to me to learn that there's more of our soldiers die on American soil than they are that have ever died in any conflict overseas, which shocked me. And it's sad and it sucks. And, so I just wanted to get involved with Brian, and because I know how passionate he was. And I think being from Philly helped a lot with that. Even though he lives in San Diego now, but being from Philly and being a Phillies fan, it was like he thought it was cool that I followed him on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's called, and I was like floored that he would follow me, like, because I try to follow. If I see someone on there and I see that they're a veteran, I try to follow every one of them, just because. And so, as Brian and I've gotten better friends and become battle brothers, I thought this is something I want to get involved in. And, we're working on now getting, some sponsors with, I know Brian's been talking to, you guys know who Robert Irvine is, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
Has the Robert Irvine Foundation. He does a lot for veterans. He's a veteran himself, and so we've put Battle Brothers in the Robert Irvine Foundation, and we're talking now with them about doing some joint ventures together and stuff to help raise money for both causes. And there's and I'll come out with this more, but there is a company in Philly that's really, really stepped up, and hopefully by our watch party on August 25th, we can make the announcement of who this, what this company is, Philadelphia-based company that's really, really stepped up to the plate and helped out Battle Brothers a lot. And, hopefully it's a long partnership we have, and hopefully praying that we can get more, companies, corporations involved. Because listen, there's suicides daily from our veterans, and we have to figure out a way to stop it. And look, our government does what they can, but it takes more than that to help these guys. And it takes, I don't want to say that like there's not passion for it from our congressmen and women, but it takes more than that. It takes people like Brian, who is a veteran. And if you know Brian's story, Brian got blown up over there, and he has physical ailments too. But for him to put all that aside to help, with these guys that are dealing with the thoughts of suicide and the thoughts of having PTSD and all the things that they're going through, not only physically but mentally. We have to do all we can to help them. And like I said, if there's other people who have corporations, they want to get involved, check out Battle Brothers, reach out to me on X, Twitter, whatever you guys call it now. We'll be happy to talk to you and try to see what our partnership can be, because Brian's done a great thing, and we want to take it to another level to where we can get more people help that need the help that to save their lives. And that's a bad thing too. It's never in the news. Here's a veteran who committed suicide because he couldn't cope with all the things that he saw over in Afghanistan, Iraq, wherever. And it's never in the news. So we have to bring that to light and get more people eyes on what's going on with our veterans, and trying to do all we can to help them.
Yeah, Buck's been on this program a few times. At the bottom of the screen, there's how you can help right now. Everyone in DPF land, go to e.givesmart.com. John was gracious enough to get a few really, really cool autographed uniforms, one from Aaron Nola, one from JT Realmuto, one of his own 1993 World Series jerseys, a Mike Schmidt jersey, powder blue, and Harper 2022 All-Star, all autographed. The auction is live now at e.givesmart.com. Please go check it out. Just a few comments here, John, for you. Lisa wanted to make sure that you knew that you're her husband's favorite player. But we have someone here named Scott. We call him the DPF Cowboy. He's a vet, and as a vet with PTSD and a suicide survivor, I must say thank you, Kruk, for getting involved and helping our Battle Brothers Foundation. I was there when Scott and Buck met at our Citizens Bank Park event, and to hear those two talk and know people in common that need this help, it was really impactful. Buck probably would have been on this call, but unfortunately he's in the air going to service for someone he served with overseas in North Carolina who committed suicide this past week. So
I think in the last 2 weeks we've had 3 guys that have committed suicide, 3 veterans. So it's a daily occurrence, and those are just the ones we know. I mean, right. And that's why on August 25th we're going to have a watch party. We'll have the spirit animal shirts there that Philly Goat was gracious enough to make and let part of the proceeds go to Battle Brothers. It'll be August 25th. The Phillies are in Kansas City. 2:00 game at the Palladium. So we're going to try to raise some more money and get our service members the help that they need.
Yeah, someone's saying that that website at the bottom of the screen goes to a generic site. We had posted it on DPF yesterday, the page right to the auction. I'll make sure and repost it today after we hang up this podcast. But please support Battle Brothers. It's an amazing entity. They are helping our veterans, the folks that allow us every single day to do these things, to enjoy baseball, enjoy John Kruk and Drunk Phil's fans. So, hey, I'd just go around the call real fast for last thoughts, and then John will say thank you very much and let you get on with your Sunday. But Chris, you want to start with us?
Sure, John, thanks, for coming on and talking about Battle Brothers. It's important to us, it's important to you, and it should be important to others, and we're happy to spread the awareness. In talking about, I'm Polish as well, and I know you have food a lot on the broadcast. I think that you and I need to get together and get potato pierogi at Citizens Bank Park in some way. But, I think you have more pull, so let's see if we can make that happen.
Well, I actually talked to John Middleton about having a Polish Heritage Night.
That would be great. Yeah, there's all the other ones. Like, let's not forget about us.
Exactly. And he said I have to take that up with the marketing people. So I'm gonna talk to him. But yeah, how did your mom make? Did your mom make them, the pierogi? Because when my mom made, we call them padogi, but when she made them, she put. And this was from my dad's mother. My dad's parents came over from Poland. Mm-hmm. My dad and his younger sister were the only two in their family that were born in America. They went to Ellis Island and did all that stuff. But my mom got the recipe from my dad's mom, and she made the potato ones, but she put a little cottage cheese in with the potatoes.
Yep. Yeah, so same, or it was, I think, farmer's cheese, they called it, which was similar to cottage cheese. Have you ever been to Our Lady of Czestochowa? They do a Polish festival in September, so it's 2 weekends in September. It's over in Doylestown. It's everything Polish food, Polish music, Polish everything. So if you have a chance, you should check it out if you haven't.
I'm going to look at what can someone text me that information, because I don't know how to find crap.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll send it to you.
All right.
Dugan?
Yeah, I'd like to try that.
Yeah. Hey, John, we really appreciate you being on. I just want to ask you one more question before we went off. I want to get your opinion of this year's team and where you see them going. They've been struggling recently, but I believe in this team, and I just want to get your opinion.
Yeah, they're going through something that every team goes through, and right now it was ugly for at home, the last homestand. It started ugly in Seattle. They seemed like they righted the ship in Los Angeles against the Dodgers, and the first game against Arizona will look great, and then the last two nights, but. Everyone has heard this saying, and we hear it pretty much every day when we were playing, take care of business at home, play 500 on the road. Well, if they win today, then, they're playing, they're 500 on this road trip.
Yep.
No matter how you slice it up, lose 2 out of 3 in Seattle, it's still 500 if they win today. And I believe in them. Look, they're going through some stuff right now, and but you have to trust the track record of these guys. Trey Turner is going to hit. JT's going to hit. You have to hope that Bryson Stott figures it out because he's an important part of this offense when he's going well. But they just have to go back to playing the baseball that they played, the first half of the season, and forget about this July ugly stretch that they had.
Yep. Thank you.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, we called it. We said 3-7, 4-6, and if, like you said, they can be 5-5 with a win today, so that's good.
Yep.
Johnny, last thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm not Polish, but if we can get a rum bar down there somewhere at CBP, if you can talk to somebody, I just want to say it's an honor and a privilege to have you on today. Thank you for all you do for Battle Brothers and our veterans. And this was an absolute treat for me because you are my favorite player from that era of the Phillies. And I still remember when you guys won the National League Championship World Series. I was outside on the boulevard in my pajamas having a sign, honk for the Phils. And long story short, one of my teachers pulled up, like, you better be in school tomorrow. You're not drinking, are you? I said, not in my pajamas. So
I tell you,
just want to thank you.
Next time I come on with you guys, we have to talk about that night. Holy hell.
That's a plan. Hey, I had a couple of John Kruk trivia, and I'd love to know if John Kruk knows these. So, John, you were known for your ability to hit. Chris said the day you retired, you were hitting 308. How many stolen bases did you have in your career?
Nah, I have no idea. I know one year in San Diego when Larry Bowe was managing, I had 18 with like a month left to go in the season. And Bo was like, "Hey, why don't you go for 2020? Just run. We're suck." He said, September, run. Just try to get 20. Well, I ended up breaking my toe, and the more I ran, the farther I got thrown out by. I said, "Screw it, I'm done running, man. I'm just giving them outs, and that's not the way to play." So I just shut it down. But yeah, so I don't know how many.
You had 58 in your career, so 18 that one year, and the other 9 years 40. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I'll open this one up to the other guys because you probably remember this. But what movie starring Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro did John Kruk have a cameo role in? I'll give you multiple guess. A is The Natural, B is The Rookie, C is The Fan, and D is The Sandlot Heading Home.
That's C.
That's C, yeah.
Yeah, definitely C.
Yeah.
I was in one of the Sandlot too.
You were, but Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro weren't. So.
Yeah.
Can I point out one?
It's funny. It's funny. I was, you said a cameo on The Fan. You know how long that damn cameo took? 4 damn months.
Oh shit!
4 months I was out there.
Wow.
Like here's what I did. I sit in a trailer. This wardrobe lady would knock at the door. I'd open up the door. All right, they want you in your Giants home uniform. Okay, I put on the Giants home uniform. Sit back down. 2 or 3 hours later, knock on the door. I'm thinking, all right, they're coming to get me to do something. All right, now they want you in the road uniform. I change it. Like there was days my fat ass didn't leave the trailer. and luckily, Benicio del Toro was in it. John Leguizamo was in it. This guy that I became friends with, Brad Henke, who actually played the one year with the Denver Broncos when they lost in the Super Bowl, like 58 to, I think Steve Young threw like 5 touchdown passes or something, broke the Super Bowl record or something like that. He was in that game playing for the Denver Broncos. So we kind of teased him about that a little bit. But I mean, I would go weeks with not leaving. The only time I left the trailer was going to the craft services truck to get something to eat.
So funny.
So I have your stats up here, John. And one of the things, and I think I don't know if it's a change in the way the game's played now. I'm just wondering if these guys know how many times in your career you had a season where you struck out 100 times or more.
Oh man, I know one. And that one, I think I still had a pretty good year. I don't know if I hit 300, but I can't remember. But
it was one. It was 1 year. You had 100 strikeouts on the dot. 1991, you still hit 294. So
yeah, and I went home and I thought, I'm going to get released. I struck out 100 damn times. Like who can do that?
That was also your biggest power year. You hit 21 home runs that year.
Well, that's what someone said. They said, well, you have to look at it this way. I'm like, I ain't looking at it no way. I struck out 100 damn times. Hey,
that's 2 months for guys. They strike out 100 times in 2 months now.
I know. It's a different era. But look, I mean, you look at these players now, they're monsters. Like, people don't understand how big Alec Boehm is, how big Bryce is, and JT and Nick. And I mean, these guys are huge. And, just like 10 days ago, we saw Aaron Judge. Give me a break, man. We didn't have no 6'7", 285 center fielders, when I played. So these athletes now, they're bigger, stronger, faster. And, they've exchanged contact for power. And it's been working for a lot of them. Some not so much, but they're just huge humans now.
Yep.
Very cool. Hey, John, thank you so much for supporting Battle Brothers. Thanks for coming on. Is there anything you want to say before we sign off?
Well, thank you guys for having me. Thank you for allowing me to relive the past. And now the future is Phillies baseball and Battle Brothers and helping our veterans. So I appreciate you guys for letting me come on and promoting Battle Brothers. Hopefully we get more corporate sponsors to help in the fight against these damn suicides that our veterans are having and struggling with PTSD and pain. We got to help them, man. We got to help them every chance we get.
Yep. Remember to go to support the auction that's going on for Battle Brothers right now. Remember, John will be at the Palladium on the 25th for the watch party with Kansas City. And as always, thank you very much for watching out there in DPF land. Fuck the Mets and fuck Joe Carter. He ruined our childhoods. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you,
John. See you guys.
Thank you, guys.